We have 1 minute before we go live there, but we're just happy to have you folks that have joined us early.
Hello.
And this is just wonderful. D, you can't hear me. Let me know, D, because I just changed sports on this
Mic 2 is always hot.
on
Mic 3.
my switchboard, and now I'm about to go live on Gospel Radio Nation. We're going to do manual there, and there. We are actually live on Gospel Radio Nation. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
Hey.
My name is Chris Jackson. I am a Mastermind Wisdom Coach. I am the host of Mastermind Wisdom University. We're having a wonderful time here today. We have our normal, wonderful guests, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing for the next month, 18 months or so. Got some good stuff planned, but my guests here are experts in their own rights, in their own field. So we're just going to start with Tiffany.
Hello. Hi, you guys. I am Tiffany Taylor Hicks, and I am the CEO of Velvet Rope Experience. And my area of specialty is content and training development. And I'm excited to be here with you guys today.
Excellent. Welcome. Glad you're here with us. All righty. My name is Larry Richardson. I'm a 25-plus year financial advisor, senior market specialist, also past president of the San Jacinto Financial Advisory, and also on the board of the NAACP Young Adults Committee, and presently with the HOA Homeowner Association of Houston. You can contact me for information and reviews at area code 832-867-5038. That's area code 832-867-5038. Glad to be with you this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Jenkins, and I am a student of the Mastermind Wisdom University. Also, I'm with Why Not Legacy Group, where we teach you to leave a legacy for your children's children. Is that what the Bible says?
That's what it says.
Okay, so we're ready today, and as we go on, we'll tell about the other things that we do.
Absolutely. Again, we welcome everybody here today. I keep typing in, trying to say hello to people that are coming up, and every time I hit enter, it comes up with Kevin Hawkins. Kevin Hawkins is not on here, but Kevin Harmon is. So Sheila Harris, Kevin Harmon, Michael, Carlos, Dee Dee, Madger, Donna, LaShonda, Corey, Amy, Michael, Dennis, Michael Williams, all of you guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome
Hey,
to
everybody.
Mastermind Wisdom University.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we're doing at Hope Church is a series called Journey to Wellness 2. And on this program for the next couple of weeks, probably as long as our event is running at Hope Church, we are going to be talking about the journey to wellness. We have a lot of things that we talk about here that we want to share with you, because it's about making changes. It's about self-evaluation. It's about, as we are doing it at Hope Church, it's about progress.
Absolutely.
Our pastor has been talking about going from good to better. Not great, but from good to better. And what that means sometimes is simply making some changes in our lifestyle, changes in our thinking. I'm real big here on talking about change your thinking, change your behavior, change your life. And if you adhere to those things, then you can make some progress in your life. You can make some big changes. We're going to talk about a little bit. We're going to have a discussion about what the Bible talks about. I think it's Mark 5:1, and I can't remember Luke, but it talks about when Jesus met the man that had the legions, how we are confronted with demons of our own, and how those demons or those sinful people or those situations that we had no control over, how those encounters changed our lives. And for some of us, we have a real story. You're not going to hear all of it, but you'll get some of it.
I feel like you parked outside in front of my house right there on that one.
So,
ring in the doorbell.
we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about, I'm going to start telling you about our 30-day challenge that starts on March 2nd. That 30-day challenge is the starting point where we will start changing our lives. We're going to do something different every day for 30 days.
Absolutely.
And there'll be recommendations, there will be sayings, there will be books to read, but we're going to base it on Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Absolutely.
That's the book. But our 30-day challenge is called Think and Grow Wisdom. Because we all have some wisdom that's been suppressed in us. And I will ask my panel here, have you ever had a time where you knew the right thing to do, but you chose to do something different instead? Anybody?
Ooh.
Just give me one example of one of those good times.
So I don't mind. I'll get it started. So what this is what I have been encountering lately, from the wisdom standpoint, is knowing that God gives you discernment, and when you're in the midst of something and you know exactly what it is that's happening, you know what's happening, you know what's being said, you clearly understand it. But in your mind, you try to rationalize it, give people the benefit of the doubt, and you try to make it what you want it to be, not what God presented it to you as. And then, and really, when I do that, I fight with myself because I get upset because I'm like, Tiffany, it's not the people, it's you. God presented it to you. He gave you the wisdom that you needed. He gave you the discernment. He told you exactly what was happening, and it was backed up or affirmed by those people's actions. But you wanted to, Tiffany's ego, wanted to make it something else. I wanted to make it be they're better people than that, or or whatever the case may be. I wanted to make it better because of what Tiffany thought, because of my ego, because in my mind, how could I have picked the wrong blah 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 blah, when that's the whole point? How could I picked the wrong, because that's not what God chose for me. So what you heard me say?
What I heard you say was
that makes you so happy when he does that.
what I heard you say was, you were going on your own interpretation and assumption.
Yes.
You thought other people would see, feel, and think the same way you did.
Yes, I did.
And by doing so, you made an error in judgment, because we all are different.
Right.
We all experience things through different filters.
Right. And the error was I knew better. The error was, in some cases, I prayed and I got the answer that I needed, but I tried to make it something other than the answer that I received. So in prayer, I received the wisdom that I was given, but and I understood exactly how I should have moved, but I didn't. and sometimes I didn't move in that way because of the expectation. Like, let me make it very simple. You ever been in a situation where you promise someone you're going to do something? Like you say, make it as simple. But make it as simple as I tell somebody, I promise you that I'll come to your birthday party.
Sure.
Right? But you know that at that birthday party will be people and things that you really don't live that way anymore.
Right.
But you're going because you want to please someone.
Absolutely.
Because we have this time and position as
Absolutely.
friends, and I don't want to let you down.
Right.
Even though you prayed about it and you already understand it, God told you, well, that's not where I'm telling you to go.
Right.
But you go anyway.
Right.
And then when you get there, now you're disappointed because it's exactly what God told you it was going to be. But
Right.
you were in your ego doing things for you or doing something for your friend.
Right.
And I've found that every time I do that, I feel like the penalty for me is much more harsh than what it would have been if, because I'm understanding that I prayed for it first.
Right.
I got an answer and I decided I didn't want to listen to it.
Absolutely.
That takes
Absolutely.
wisdom to learn that, because each one of us has been through that.
Right. And of course, as we go older, we get more wiser, and we try not to have bad experiences as often as we had when we were younger.
True. Why is it we won't learn from our experiences? Why is it we won't learn from someone else's experiences?
Sheila says she can't hear.
You can't hear Chris. Okay, if you can't hear me, then let me do
Go
this.
to a microphone.
There we go. Can you hear me now? Why is it then that we won't listen? Why is it that we make a choice that folks have our best interest even after we've prayed, got the answer, and then choose to do something else?
I think it's conditioning. I really believe it's conditioning. I think that as a small child, our parents groom us to please other people, starting with pleasing them, with doing what it is that they ask us to do. And even if you have parents who go to church, like your parents can go to church, but the whole household is about. I don't know a lot of people that when they go home, the household is about pleasing God. A lot of people, it's Sunday you pleasing God. Maybe even Wednesday night when you at Bible study, that's when the house is when we're pleasing God, right? But for the most part, is do as I say do what I told you to do. We're used to pleasing people because we don't want to suffer the consequences, and it's not God's consequences. It's the authority in your house or in your life's consequence. And I think that we're groomed to do that. I think that we're groomed to look out for others before we look out for ourselves, which is and can be found by being pleasing to God, but that's a relationship you have to have.
I have a question,
Mm-hmm.
because what I heard you say was this happens at childhood.
Mm-hmm.
We're adults now.
Right?
We are adults now.
Right, but even if you grow and you've been doing it your whole life, it's still you conditioned. It's a habit.
It is a habit, but talk to me, Larry, about that change. We are adults.
Right.
We know it's wrong. You
Right.
said
Mm-hmm.
you know it's wrong. So why would we choose to keep going backwards instead of forward?
Well, some of us do choose to go backwards instead of forward, and others do seem to grow. And that's where maturity and quote, world success comes in, and our living what you call a successful life. But it also goes back to our spiritual growth too, because it says it's in the scriptures that we die to ourselves daily. I think it's more spiritual than necessarily our growing process, because needless to say, as we grow spiritually, we recognize that because we die to self every day, it's a fleshly thing. And fleshly things lead to what? Pride, envy, want to be part of the group. And those are things that we live in the flesh every morning, every day. So, but the Bible says we have to die to flesh.
Yes, we do.
And if we're spiritually mature, or we're maturing in a spiritual manner, we'll be able to die under the flesh and become more spiritual. And then when we get the spirit or the message that you shouldn't go, or you shouldn't do this, or whatever the case may be, then we can understand. And here's my biggest point. I always look at the consequences of my decisions.
Oh, you said, I heard you say,
Yes, sir. What did you hear me say?
Always. What happened when we didn't always?
Yeah, he said he did say that I always look at the consequences, and a lot of times I think that that's not, people are not always looking at the consequence. I think that that does take maturity. I think that you have to grow, not just as a person. First, you have to grow in the spirit, but then you also have to grow as a person
Absolutely.
to understand that. I don't think that I think you have to get to that point. Like, you have to desire a relationship with God. You have to desire a spiritual relationship. Once you're at the point where you desire it, because you, like, in most people, let's be real, they got to try everything before they try God. Like, that's what happens. Like, people get to a point where I done tried this, I done tried that, this wasn't working, and now, okay, what am I doing? It's not me. Who do I give this to? And in the hope that I have, I give it to God. And then now I'm immersed in that. And then when you start getting proof of signs that God is here, He's with you and everything, then now you trust it. But I don't think that people operate in that. It takes some time to get to that for some people, unless you got a real good spiritual wisdom
And that kind
wise
of
person.
go back, and I appreciate you saying that, because that kind of goes back to what we were talking about and some of the things that are called the people that we put ourselves around. Finding role models in our lives. People don't make that. But what is the definition of insanity?
No, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
And when you don't get those results, what do?
I don't know, you lost me on that
We get angry.
We get angry.
one. Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
And what is the definition of anger?
I don't know, tell me.
The definition of anger is I didn't get what I wanted.
Right.
Oh, really?
That's the definition.
Okay. That's
It's
good.
just simple. Because everybody that gets mad is because they didn't get something they wanted.
Whether it's the way someone is treating
Treating,
you.
whether it's monetary,
Mhm.
whether it's relational, whether it can
You right.
promotion,
I mean,
money.
it can be love.
You get what you want. What does anger have place to even reside in? Once you've attained what you want. I can't get mad at what I already want or what I attained.
Yeah.
There's nothing to get mad about.
Money isn't the biggest thing for me. If I had to sit and think about where my anger issues come from, and they're not around money. My anger issues are when I feel like people don't reciprocate love. If I give you love, and if I care for you, and if I'm helping you, and if I am concerned about you and
Sure.
in your life, I expect the same. And I found that in my life, my overall theme has been about love. And I really sat trying to figure out, where does this come from? What is this? And I could take every single thing all the way back to even my biological father in my mind rejecting me. It was all about love. It was all about give me acceptance, give me love.
So, explain to me your definition of love. And while I want to take a little break here, and I want to make a strategic seating change.
Uh-oh.
Larry, I want you to slide out and let Lisa slide in so we can have them covered.
Okay.
This is so amazing.
Wow.
I don't know if y'all understand what just happened out there in TV Facebook land, but I want you to know that I like it.
All right. Now we move.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that y'all understand that 3 years ago, I didn't even understand that. I wouldn't have been able to have a conversation with you all that way and even understand why you did what it is that you did. So, but it took me a minute to get to that spiritual walk, right? So I understand it now. Thank you.
And what is the definition? Why did he do that?
Okay, so they're the men, and the men, their responsibility is to anchor us. Like, they're the lead, and they're supposed to they are providing us with spiritual covering by anchoring us and being on the outside and making sure that we are covered in the way we need to be covered, because it's their job to provide for us, pastor us, all of that.
Great answer. Great answer.
And
Did
that-
y'all hear that,
and that
ladies?
is-
Because most ladies
and that
don't
is
move in to
wisdom.
be in then.
Yeah.
That is wisdom.
That is
in action.
wisdom.
Yeah.
In action.
And,
Wow.
and understanding that and knowing that that's okay. I think that a lot of us grow up with this whole, I don't need a man. Anyway, because I'll go on. I
No,
think
no,
that-
no. I don't
totally
think
different-
all of
totally
us do
different.
that, but a lot of us do that because we were raised by single parents.
True.
But those who were raised by the mother and father, they don't feel like they don't need a man.
Right. And
They
I was
want
raised
the
by both of
perfect
my
man.
parents. Yes.
You know,
there
they
you
want
go.
the man that's just like their dad.
Mhm.
And I tell people that don't exist.
Y'all don't want the one like my dad. I mean, he was
No,
a
like
big
their
man.
dad.
Gotcha. Yeah. But
You
like
know,
their dad. Yeah.
Yeah, like their dad.
So okay, so I apologize, y'all, because I will go off
No, that's,
target.
we're on Table Talk Radio. And we're supposed to be talking
Right.
because everyone out there is going through something. There's a saying that there's no one that can hang a sign on their doors that says no hurt here.
That's true.
So we all go through something. We all have different experiences. We all bring in different avenues, different perspectives, and your perspective counts. Our perspective and what we're saying now, and I always preface my whole thing in my growth process is our ways are not God's way.
Mm.
The way I think, I have to, if I'm going to be on God's level or His trying to get to His, I have to think totally opposite. So a lot of times we make decisions on things we do every day. We can do just the opposite. And that's probably God's way. Because our human thinking and our human ways is not necessarily His way. We don't get what we want when we try to go our way of doing things.
That's
We get
true.
disappointed
That is true.
at all times. So consequently, that back to that dying to self and recognizing, anytime I get to the word me or I just pick up and pinch my flesh because I know I'm in the flesh.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I have to try to stay as much in the spirit, even in this conversation, even in this situation. You pray before you get into this situation. You humble yourself and you come up under an authority and recognize that I'm not the say all and be all. I can learn something here. I can grasp something here. I can share something here. And if I do that, then I'm going to gain and He's going to get the glory.
Right.
And that is
Right.
wisdom when
That's
someone
what you
can
have
feel
to
they
do.
can learn some day, every day by
Have to have
someone.
your mind open.
Yeah, that's
all the
good.
time.
That's good.
So but I'm gonna answer the question because you
Okay.
asked, what is my definition of love?
Right.
And I want to share that I didn't know my definition of love until about 2 years ago, and there's a very important reason why I'm saying that. So the lady that created this T-shirt that I have on, and it says, "I am more powerful than I know powerful to be," and her name is Tiber Speaks, and she's the lady that was in my life 2 years ago. And one day we were actually riding in the car, and she said to me, "Tiffany, what is your definition of love?" And as I was sprouting out the definition, because I love words, so I gave her the dictionary definition of the word love, and she said, "No, Tiffany, that's Webster's definition of love. I asked you for your definition of love." And I told her, well, I don't know. Like at that point I was perplexed. Like, what does she mean? My definition is exactly what Webster says, right? And she said no. So she walked me through that process, and she said, close your eyes, and when you think about love, what do you think about? How does that come to you, right? So when I closed my eyes, I can tell you guys that love exists in this way, and I'm going to give it to you how I got it. The very first priority for me about love is information. Sharing information and wisdom with me, not withholding information from me, feels like love, because I got that from my dad. My dad would always say, "Chicken, I can't take this information with me, so I'm going to give you as much of it as I can while I'm here." And he always did that, so that feels like love. The next thing is support, like real support. Like, I might not like what you're doing, but I love you and I'm going to stick this thing out with you, but I'm also going to tell you when you're doing wrong. That's my mom. That feels like love. I don't know how to explain that, but if I close my eyes and if I picture support, it looks like my mother.
Sure.
And then the last thing I would say is the last thing will make me cry. But the last thing is being assured that the love, that whatever it is that I'm giving or getting, or the energy, being assured that it is reciprocated. That feels like love to me, and I get that from my son. So for me, love is really about information, support, and reciprocating. Those are the things that make me feel good. And I have found that when I don't get that from people, that is when I get angry. That's when I'm upset. But I also notice that I give exactly what my definition of love is, and it's I don't intend to do it, but it's because that's what it feels like to me. It's the thing that I walk around in that every day. Y'all know I give information to anybody that will ask me for it. Sometimes too much. I overlove. I will give support to anyone who I believe has a good cause and believes in it. And I'm very much about reciprocating. So that's what love means to me.
You want to get
He's
to
gonna
it?
tell his definition.
No, go right ahead. I'm just writing down some ideas.
Because I have the Webster dictionary, but, so you say, close your eyes and
Close your eyes and
what
think of love,
love
and what
is.
does it fit with? Yeah.
For you, and then I'm going to help you all out.
Okay. What love's for me is when people are honest, caring, passionate, or when they do the most right thing toward other people. That's love. That's what I feel love is. I have a problem with people not being themselves. So you see me, I'm the same way all the time.
Yeah.
So, be truthful. That's love to me.
Okay.
Be understanding. That's love to me. So love is giving, and you give to others. So it's giving and receiving back what others do. So that's love to me. So there's different parts of love to me, because love for my friends. I like to be around people who can motivate me. That's love.
Okay.
Or who we kind of have like minds.
Okay.
I don't like people that don't know how to do that. Partnerships, team, that's love to me. So.
And you're consistent with that. You are very consistent. You can say, when I ask you about, if I ask you something and I'll say, what are your first words? You'll say team or community or love. And even today, even with closing your eye, you're consistent. But that lets me know that it's the truth, because the truth is always consistent in my mind anyway.
Okay. How about you, Larry?
Basically, the love that I see, and when you close my eyes or even think about it, it's something of more or less having the best interest of others. Without looking for something in return. It's back to that giving aspect. You have to give out love before lots of people can receive love, because people aren't really, about it. It's kind of alien to people. We don't do a lot of loving. So it's the best interest of someone else or the person that you have an affection for, without looking for the return of that giving back to it. It's my overall definition of love. There's a lot of specifics, but that's what I see love as.
So I have a question for the two ladies in particular, because what I heard you say is you want folks to give it back. I think both of you said you want people to give back.
Yes.
Larry said reciprocation. What happens? What happens when you don't get that reciprocation? You don't get that return. You don't get that response. Because you see, in my opinion, I want you to think about it and you can answer me.
Right.
In my opinion, if your love is based on getting something back,
Absolutely.
then you will choose to be disappointed when you don't get it.
Right, but that's coming, and I hear what you're saying. That's coming from a mature person, a person who is wise in that. Again, back here, that's why we're on the show. But the thing is that we as people, we have to grow to that. I have not grown to that yet. I have that for my mother and my son. Like, at the end of the day, I love my mother, and it doesn't matter what my mother does, I'm still going to give her love, even though I don't feel like she gives it back to me the way I desire, right? I can do that now, but I'm not gonna even lie to y'all. That's the reason why life is difficult, because we're spending a lot of time trying to get people to respond to us in the way that we want them to respond. But that takes growth. You have to get to that point. I'm not saying, I know that you're right. It's just that I'm there, but I'm not there consistently. Right? I'm not there every single day during my waking hours. I'm there for when I'm making a conscious choice, thinking about it. I need to pinch myself more often, Larry.
Yes, it's important to recognize when we're in the spirit or when we're in the flesh.
And it's also important to recognize when you're telling yourself the truth.
Yeah.
And that's truth for you.
Right.
That's truth for you.
Right.
And it is a matter of growing to that next level. And that next level, my definition, is grace, truth, and time.
Grace Street. I need a pen. Let me have it. You didn't tell me we were gonna be taking notes today.
That's too right. It's a learning process.
I want to say hello to Rhonda Pittman, Julian Clovis, and Reverend Wayne Osborne. I hope you guys were able to hear me. We are working on, this is a time for a little break.
Okay.
We are working on making some changes in our station here. We're working on making some changes in the sound. Certainly, for those of you that have joined us before, you can tell that the scenery has changed. The decor will
It
be,
got prettier because you have two ladies in the middle. That's what happened.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Well, I like her on the show.
What happened?
And that's love.
So while we're at this break point, I would like you ladies, and then Larry, and then I'll myself, another introduction of who you are and what you do.
Okay.
And I believe you and some of us have some things coming up. And Larry, I'll have you talk about the book. That one, both of them.
Okay.
When it's your turn.
Okay.
Go right ahead. Who are you?
Hey there, I am Tiffany Taylor Hicks, you guys. I am the CEO of Velvet Rope Experience, and we are a content and training firm. We help people with all of their content strategy needs as well as their training development needs. We work with nonprofit organizations specifically during this time. So my event that I have coming up, we have an event that is coming up on February 23rd. It is called the New Nonprofit CEO Success Model, and it is a workshop where we are inviting